Sports Trifecta. This is the April recap. Guys, this is the last recap of the Kentucky Derby Preps and Oaks. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. You can follow us at the Sports Tribe, it's TRI, on Twitter. And we had a pretty exciting thing of a couple of races here in April. So we're going to get into that, and let's just get right into it. All right. Alright, we're off. So, this episode's podcast, I want to touch base on something that's pretty important to handicapping in the horse racing world. Speed figures. For those of you that are newer to handicapping or unfamiliar kind of with how to read a book in general when it comes to past performances, race forms, speed figures, their main job is to convey how fast a horse ran. Actually ran. Because, not all horses race on the same exact track. They don't all race at the same distance. They don't all face the same fields. The weather could be different. So there's a few things that come into play, like at let's say a track like Belmont, in which has wide sweeping turns and like a sandy base track. And compare that over to Fairgrounds, that's very tight turns that are banked high and has a really long stretch. Certain tracks just favor certain types of horses, so you'll notice that, not all the horses ran at the same track or at the same distance and all that. So you want something to represent how fast they actually ran. So there is the clock, and you can go with the philosophy of the clock doesn't lie. You can't beat a stopwatch. They're going the distance. They're going for speed. Okay, cake. So in any case, you can go off the clock, but is that really giving you the most accurate thing? I'll basically start where this came from. Just recently, if you watch the Twitter feed, I saw that Justify, I think he's getting a lot of hype, a little too much hype, and his Beyer speed figure, which is one of the big three, which I consider the big three of Beyer, Equibase, and Brisnet. I know there's other ones out there like Thoroughgraph and such. However, Beyer is the one that's kind of the most respected one in the horse racing community as far as I can tell, and Justify's Beyer speed came back for the Santa Anita Derby at a 107. And he ran in 149 and change, and that's for a mile and an eighth. To me, I was like, man, that's a really high Beyer speed. I mean, what's with all the hype? And so for me, after college, I lived in Arizona, and I really got into the California circuit for the preps for the Kentucky Derby. So I was very familiar with the Santa Anita Derby and some of the times that were ran. And I still follow it, obviously, here. But I was like, man, Justify 149, that's not the fastest of times. But I'm like, 107 Beyer speed is really high. And I looked back, and I was like, okay, well, Justify ran on the lead, which is optimal. He gets to choose the path that he wants to be in, which most likely towards the rail or just off the rail. He doesn't have to circle a field, so he's going very tight. And Santa Anita is pretty good weather. It's Southern California. I mean, you don't really get that many bad days out there. Which then, in my head, I went, wait a second, Exaggerator, a couple of years ago, ran an absolute slop out there. And Exaggerator was a horse that came from way off the pace, too. So he had to circle fields, and he had a really tough time. So I looked up Exaggerator's time, and it was faster than what Justify ran. And they're doing the same distance on the same exact track. So logic says, hey, Exaggerator in the mud, which horses run slower in, going in those conditions that I just mentioned, should have a higher speed figure. I'm expecting, maybe a speed figure on Beyer of 112 or 114. No, it came back less. That made no sense to me. How did a faster time in those conditions come back less? And then I was like, wait, and I know horses like I'll Have Another in California Chrome, when they raced in the Santa Anita Derby, they put up really good times in 147s. There were sub 148s. I looked up California Chrome's. He was over 2 seconds faster than what Justify ran. Optimal conditions, same track, same distance, same weather, and California Chrome 2 seconds faster. Which, if you do it by a horse length being around 8 feet and 2 seconds, from if you're doing the 6 lengths per or the 7 lengths per second. I mean, if 7 lengths per second is when they're at their top speed, and if they're running and busting it down the final stretch there, I think they're at their top speed. I'm going to give them around 7 lengths per second. That's it's like 33 yards worth of distance there. It's 112 feet or so. That's massive. It's a massive amount of distance. California Chromes came back the same exact number. That's not right. So I then looked up Brisnet thinking, oh, Brisnet. Yeah, that's the book that I've been trusting of late for the last couple of years. I like their late speed figures. I like the way that it's easy to read, things like that. I like at Brisnet's, and it's even crazier. They give Justify this huge number, and California Chrome and Exaggerator, they're not there. And now I'm really scratching my head. So then I look at Equibase, and Equibase actually has them pretty close to each other. Still not perfect, but at least Equibase was closer. So I was like, all right, fine, you know what? I'm going to do Equibase. I'm going to go back through all these derby preps that I was putting Brisnet ratings in for, and I'm going to put Equibase ratings in. I get to the Holy Bull, Audible. Hey, he's my number one horse coming into this episode here. Why? Because he had an amazing race in the Holy Bull. He was the only one to put up a 141 time. I'm expecting to see this like really high Equibase rating, and I see it was a 97. I go, oh, 97 or 98, one of the two. Benincasa was sub 100. So okay, and then I go on, and then I see the Fountain Youth. It was the next prep there at Gulfstream Park. So same track, same distance, mile and 16th. The Fountain Youth won by Promises Fulfilled in a time that was 2 seconds slower. Same track, same year, same track, 2 seconds slower, and Equibase has that as a 115. That is crazy. You getting, what's that? 15-16% higher of a speed figure coming out of that? That's another beef I have with all this. Is the speed figures, what's the base? Like, if I were to make up a rating, let's say for Major League pitchers, or a human being throwing a baseball, and you want to do on a scale of 0 to 100, I would take the, humanly possible, how fast can you throw it with everything that's in your arm and your body. Humanly possible, they say, probably 110 miles an hour before your arm snaps. The tendons just can't hold much more of a load. They can't hold more of a load than that. It's around 110 miles an hour. That's why we've never seen a pitch that fast. We've seen Aroldis Chapman go 105. But optimal would be like 110 miles an hour. That would be 100 to me. What is the optimal time that somebody can run, or some horse can run a certain distance in, a mile and 16th or whatever? Well, we have records. The record probably is a little bit shy of what is possible. So that should be around like a 98, 97, right? And make it 100. Then I would know exactly what I'm looking at when it comes to, oh, this is the absolute fastest a horse could have ran this, and he did it. These ones I have no idea. What does a 115 mean? What does a 97 mean on Equibase, on Bayer? I have no idea. And I dug into this a little bit more, and I started looking at the ways that they actually do these. And the track variant is the main reason why these numbers skew. And the track variant by Bayer, as far as I'm aware, it takes in part workouts and how fast the workouts are being done. And to me, what if horses just aren't busting it in the morning that day? All of a sudden, all these ratings are going to be super high? Ugh, I don't like that. What if it's raining in the morning and now all of a sudden it's bright? He probably, I don't know it in full, but from what I could gather, there's definitely margins or areas of opportunity to improve whatever his ratings are. Maybe he's got a bigger story. If you guys know this more in depth, please let me know. I looked into this, and once I started seeing some of these holes in these, I was, I'm probably going to dig into it deeper too. But I just want to bring it to the forefront now, because people pay money for these services. It's not a lot of money, but they pay. And You know, these companies, if they're making money off this, they should do due diligence to give at least accurate information, or let people know, hey, this is really how it works. And then you make the decision, should I use this or not? Because right now I don't want to use any of these speed ratings. Equibase runs it off of pars. So in like the last 6 months or so, what claiming races run for on this track surface. And again, that is areas of opportunity, because what if the just the slow paces for the races that are being the par? And now all of a sudden everything looks really... what if they're going extra fast? Now everything looks extra slow. And it may not be the conditions in the actual track. I want to see actual physics in this. That's something I want to see. I want to know, if it is wet, does a horse's hoof push off with 2% less efficiency? If there is a headwind coming in, even though they're going in a circle, well, let's say it's a headwind on the stretch or in the back stretch, I don't know. I want to see actual physics behind this. If you've got any ideas, let me know. But I would love to find out what's going on with this. So yeah, that's my take. Alright, so let's get on to it. This is the Road to the Kentucky Derby. We're going to start off recapping the rest of the 100-point races that were left. Start on up here in Aqueduct. This was the Wood Memorial. I was at this track. You saw the Twitter. We're watching this here. Enticed came in as a pretty heavy favorite here. We also had some other Derby horses like Firenze Fire and Vino Rosso, who shipped on up. Evaluator, who won one of the very first points races, was awesome in this race. It was won by Vino Rosso, which, for you Italian speakers out there, it's red wine. He had a pretty dominating run down the stretch. Enticed never got the lead. This one started with Old Time Revival, setting some pretty quick fractions, sub 23 in the first quarter and 46 in the half. And then Vino Rosso was just a little bit off the pace, made the turn coming into the stretch, got the lead, and then kind of buried Enticed. Nice performance there by Vino Rosso. It actually popped him up to the top of one horse rider's top 10 Derby dozen, whatever they do. It's impressive. It was nice. It was final time at 1:49.79. It's not a bad time. It's not an eye-popping time either. He did what he had to do and give it up for Vino Rosso. And Enticed will be in the Derby as well as Firenze Fire, who I'm not a huge fan of. Overall, though, Vino Rosso coming off the pace, I'm not a huge fan of that. That's kind of something that, I'll take apart when I go over the top fives. Next of the 100-point races was also on April 7th. It was down at Keeneland. It was the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes. This was Good Magic's big return. He was going against Flameway, Sporting Chance, Free Drop Billy, Blended Citizen, Kanthaka. There was some damn good horses in this race, and it was a big field. It was 14 horses in this one. That's a big thing for me. If they can race in a 14-horse field and win, that's good showing. That means you can handle the bigger fields, because the Kentucky Derby is a 20-horse field. Guess who came on top here? Good Magic. He was on my top 5 way back in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile performance, and he had a little bit of a, rough comeback from the layoff, but you know what? Hey, he stalked perfectly, made the, came around the turn, got the lead, and didn't relent, and he was going against Flameway. He was a pretty damn good horse as well. This was running 150.18. It's not the fastest of times, but I think Good Magic ran it the way he was supposed to run it, which was winning. So good performance by Good Magic. Not eye-popping by any means, but also don't discredit Flameway. Flameway had the lead for a little bit there and then just relented down the stretch. I still like Flameway. I think he's got good stamina. Some other ones in here, Sporting Chance veered way out if you watch that replay. He must have smelled some hot dogs or something on the grandstand, because he went way out and ended up getting DQ'd out of third place. Free Drop Billy popped in there. And Blended Citizen had a little bit of a, not the greatest strips there. But again, this is a big field. Good job, Good Magic and Flameway. I give him some props. Next up was the Santa Anita Derby. This was the Hype Machine Derby, is what I like to call it, because both Doro and Justify were the two main horses in this, and Stildergaard was in it as well. But let's be honest, it was a 2-horse race, and that's how it played out, too. I actually thought Silver Guard would be a little bit better than what he was. I had a little bit of a win bet on him that did not pay. Oh, but yeah, so Justify. He's been hyped so much, and I guess he didn't disappoint here. It was kind of a, very average pace. It was right around 24 seconds for the first quarter and right around 48 for the half. He won at 149.72. Again, it's not an eye-popping thing, but he won by 3 lengths. Baltoro just didn't really fire down the stretch. I mean, I guess he did because he still buried the field. The rest of them, it was a 2-horse race. I don't really know what to say about this. Justify, hey, he keeps winning. I'm not huge on him. I can't be like, wow, this is, Gunrunner's replacement. Here he comes, Justify. Because West Coast really didn't, I don't know. In any case, Justify's creeping up my board. I don't know if I can justify him actually winning, the whole Apollo curse, yada, yada, yada. He's just, I don't know. It's a good performance, but not eye-popping. That's what I'm going to leave the Santa Anita Derby at. And Baltoro, hey man, this horse is like Classic Empire. It's just nothing but excuses and no wins. Kinda, I don't know. That's the way I have a feeling he's like Classic Empire from last year. It's just frustrating. Frustrating because the horse has a ton of talent and then just doesn't get in the winner's circle for one reason or not. Next we're going to head on out to Keeneland again. This was the Lexington Stakes. This was a lesser points race, so it didn't get the greatest of fields. It had Gray Vitos coming back off of his injury. That was good to see him at least on the track. 7 Trumpets was a horse that we've heard his name quite a decent amount of times this year, Telekinesis. But my boy Jack entered this race needing a win to get in the Derby, and guess what? He did his come from behind style, and he got it by a head, beat Telekinesis. Final time, this is mile on the 16th, was 144.22, which is an okay time. He's a closer too, so he doesn't... My boy Jack did what he had to do to get in the Derby. His running style, just like what happened at Gunnevera last year. Closers, they just... No, they're not going to do it. Too much has to go right for a closer to win. My boy Jack finds they fire those types of horses. I can't say they stand any chance. So I'm not going to spend that much more time on this race. My boy Jack got the points. He's in the Derby. Don't bet him. Just take my advice. Don't bet him. Now watch him win, and all of a sudden... No, I'm just kidding. He's not going to win. Not going to win. Oaklawn is up next for the Arkansas Derby. This was the final one. This was Magnum Moon, Quip, Solomini, Combatant. These horses finished in the top 4, actually. All of them in that order. Magnum Moon took it. Another one facing the Apollo curse. Magnum Moon did this in 149.86, which is only 0.7 seconds slower than Justify. Quip came in second, but was well beaten. That doesn't share too well for Quip. Solomini, he's a grinder. He was right there with Quip at the end, finished in the top 3. I don't know what to say about Solomini. He's kind of plateaued. I thought he was going to be better at this point, but he's a grinder. He's going to get there, finish the money for a lot of these summer races if he does race in the summer. Derby, I kind of lost faith in Solomini. Quip, I don't know. I'd love to make a funny comment about this, like a really short, funny comment about Quip, but I have none. Magnum Moon, though, good race. And he went gate to wire in that. And being a front runner, gotta watch out for this horse. So that's the boys. Let's get on over to the ladies. Alright, on to the Kentucky Oaks. We're gonna start on up just like we did with the boys up at Aqueduct. We had the Gazelle, which actually came down to kind of a surprise. Midnight Disguise, which is the behemoth of a filly. She's so big. She was racing in this. I thought maybe her awkward style would take it home. There's also Mo Shopping and Smoking Patty Lassie in here. However, it came down to kind of a 3-horse race and another 3-horse race, because the top 3 all finished very close to each other, all within basically, 3/4 of a length. And then the bottom 3 were 12 lengths back. So the winner actually was My Miss Lily. She did a mile and an eighth in 150.42. My Miss Lily kind of ran a mid-pack race and then turned it on around the final turn and just beat out Sarah Street in Virginia Key. Pretty decent race that was run there. You know, My Miss Lily, she made Delo's top 5, I know that. I think it was an okay race. Next we're going to the Ashland, which this had names like Patrona Margarita and Eskimo Kisses and CS In Charge were in this race, but there was also another horse and her name is Monomoy Girl, and Monomoy Girl is cream of the crop. Alright, I can't gush about this horse much more, and she just blew the competition away again, winning, by another 5.5 lengths in this one. I did a pretty significant win bet on her. I didn't even have to sweat. I didn't even think about sweating. This horse just dominated this field. She did a mile and 16th on 143.74. Probably could have went even faster. I mean, she just went gate to wire and did it in like tactile slow in 24 for the first quarter. Like, she didn't have to even pump the... She just cruised. It was the easiest win I've ever had. It's like betting Gun Runner, where it's just, who's going to win. And that's what Monomoy Girl's been doing. She's been so dominant. Eskimo Kisses, I guess, ran kind of a respectable second place in this one. Good close. She was way in the back and then came all the way back up to get second at least. But Monomoy Girl just took off. Great horse. I really wish Road to Victory, the only horse I've seen beat Monomoy Girl, was still racing her. She kind of dropped off any of these paths here. And if you've got an update on Road to Victory, I'm open to hearing about it. I haven't seen much about her. So that was the Ashland, and yes, I was gushing about a horse, and we're going to gush about another horse in Santa Anita Oaks. Her name is Midnight Bisou. There's also mile and 16th. Midnight Bisou was the only one to run a 141 out of these this year's crop. She also she came from the back on this one and closed, still won by 3.5 lengths there. Ran it in 144.79. She didn't, blow the doors off it. She didn't have to. When she made her move, she cleared the field and kind of won rather easily. Mike Smith on her back there. This is another horse that, Midnight Bisou, just kind of dominating the California circuit while Monomoy Girl was doing stuff in the South. So we're going to see those two come head-to-head. If you would like to bet exactas, this is one of those cases where you probably do an exacta box in the Kentucky Oaks, and you shouldn't have boxed it. You got to figure out who's going to win out of these two, which is exciting. It's tough. It's going to be tough because they're going to be two very heavily favored horses, or they should be, going into the Kentucky Oaks, because it's looking like a 2-horse race. So why am I even going to go on to these other ones? Well, because they ran them. The Beaumont was down at Keeneland. This was a 7-furlong race this late in the year. Gas Station Sushi, she had impressive 2017 and came back and won this one pretty impressively. Did it 126.77, which isn't like the fastest time. Usually a 123 is where you start getting whoa kind of reactions. But Gas Station Sushi, great name, love it. Beat Kelly's Humor. Yeah. 7 furlongs. Take it as you wish. And then we had the Fantasy. Get a little song stuck in my head when you hear that. It's not the Mariah Carey one. It's the one that was in Day in Real Life when they're dancing in the bar. Good movie, by the way. You got to go see it. In any case, Sassy Sienna, another nice, cool alliterative name, came out and went up against Amy's Challenge and Wonder Godot and Cosmic Burst. This had some good horses in it. Amy's Challenge is a horse that has been blitzing, peppering the field in the first half of races, and then is gassed. And this was a test to see if Amy's Challenge can get a little bit under control as Mike Smith got on her. Veteran jockey like Mike Smith's been racing for years, been on some of the best horses. Can he control her? No. Amy's Challenge blasted out, did him really quick fractions again, 45.88 for the first half, and then faded down to third as actually Wonder Godot, who I've kind of been anti this whole time. I'm not a fan of Wonder Godot. I thought she was overhyped, and she keeps coming in not first place. She almost made me eat my words as she came charging past Amy's challenge, and then Sassy Sienna was there with her, and Sassy Sienna got her by a nose at the line. And when I say a nose, it was like a nose hair, a nostril. It was very, very tight. Good performance, Wonder Godot. I gotta give it up to you there. You had me sweating, and no longer am I gonna talk that much trash about you. You still didn't finish in first. But Sassy Sienna came through at a 11.5 to 1 odds too, so good payout if you got Sassy Sienna in that one, because Amy's challenge took a bunch of the money there. Cosmic Burst, I don't know what happened. Didn't really have the burst this time, but Sassy Sienna, all right, not a bad horse there. That was Gary Stevens on her back too. It's good to see him. So that was the ladies. Now let's get on over to the top fives. All right, how far we've come from the very beginning of these. That was in the beginning of January. That wrapped up the year 2017. The prep races all the way through April. Here comes our final top fives. Let's start off with the Kentucky Oaks. The Oaks, I'll go with D'Lo's top five. He actually submitted them to me this time. I'll start with his number 5. He's got Chocolate Martini coming through with a 79 rating. Then he's got the horse that won at Aqueduct there, My Miss Lily, coming in 4th. Blamed. He's got 3rd. And then he's got number 2, Midnight Bizu, and Monomoy Girl, number 1. So he's got Monomoy Girl, 80 Midnight Bizu. And it kind of spread out. Blamed is pretty close for him. But it looks like a 2-horse race, which my picks, top 5, kind of the same way. I got Chocolate Martini at number 5. I got Blamed coming in at number 4. We're actually tied for 3rd because I gave both these horses an 85. So Blamed and Coach Rocks. I like these two, fill out the trifecta. But my number 2 is Midnight Bizu, and my number 1 is Monomoy Girl, just because I gush around Monomoy Girl style. She goes gate to wire, while Midnight Bizu sometimes needs a little bit more stuff, and some bad things can possibly happen. I think Midnight Bizu might be the faster horse, but I think Monomoy Girl has less reliance on luck. So I give Monomoy Girl the slight edge for my number 1. And that's our Oaks picks. And now let's go to the Kentucky Derby picks. I'll start with D'Lo's. He's got Magnum Moon coming in at number 5. Apollo Curse. All right. Then he's got Mendelssohn, who took the UAE Derby, coming in at number 4. At number 3, he's got Audible, who's been romping it down in Florida. Number 2, he's got a lot of faith in Bolt Doro. He's still riding the Bolt Doro. Golden Bolt. Here we go. And number 1, he's got an Apollo Curse horse. Justify? Really? All right. Well, he's buying the hype. He's all on the hype train. He's got Justify, Bolt Doro, Audible, Mendelssohn, Magnum Moon. That's his top 5. And for my final top 5, again, these may change when it comes to post position when that actually gets released. But I'm actually going to start with the Apollo Curse, Justify at number 5, just because I couldn't find any other horse I could really put in there. I wanted to put in Vino Rosso, but then his style was kind of out. Then the other ones just weren't fast enough. So Justify, he cracks my top 5. I got him actually tied with Magnum Moon, the other Apollo Curse one. Magnum Moon, I think, faced a little bit stiffer competition. Maybe, I don't know. Justify beat Bolt Doro. I got them. Technically, they're tied for 4th if you want to do that. Is this the year? I mean, we saw 16 beat a 1 in the NCAA tournament. We've seen the Cubs win the World Series. We've seen things happen that we haven't seen happen in forever. Maybe this is the year? I don't think so. But I got them in my top 5 just in case. Number 3, I got Good Magic. I really liked his performance. I mean, beat 13 other horses. Number 2, Mendelssohn. This hasn't changed from my last one. Mendelssohn's number 2. I'm slightly concerned about UAE, how fast that truck is flipping over. Coming to Kentucky, there hasn't been any luck that way. And my final one is Audible. I'm all about Audible. I think he wins in great fashion. He ran the fastest in North America. I gotta go with Audible. He's my number 1. So thanks for joining us. Again, follow us on Twitter at TheSportsTri. You can always email us at TheSportsTrifecta@gmail.com. And stay tuned. We've got some really cool ones. D'Lo is actually going to join me. We're going to do a little bit of a breakdown of every horse and some minisodes coming out at the end of the week. So if you like little 3-minute snippets on each horse to get a feeling about what we think about them, join us for that. All right. Have a great one. And keep up.